Are we live?
Yep, we're up.
Okay, welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. Today we're going to be going over a new species of echidna discovery over in Australia, as well as a cave lion discovery over in Eurasia. Uh, we are streaming on both Rumble, Kick, and YouTube. So, from Sign News, giant echidnas once roamed Australia's Victoria, fossil shows. Echidna fossils in Australia are rare and unevenly distributed across time and geography. In a new paper published in the Alcaringa, an Australasian journal of paleontology, paleontologists described a partial skull of the Owens giant echidna, Megalib, Megalibgulia oweni, from southeastern Australia, recovered around 120 years ago from Foul Air Cave in the Buchan Caves Reserve in East Gippsland. The specimen represents the first confirmed evidence of the extinct species in the state of Victoria, where it had previously been notably absent from the fossil record. Huh. So, okay, it was recovered 120 years ago, not it existed that short time ago. I'm guessing this is probably Ice Age or Pleistocene, so a little over 11,000 years ago, or this animal was still inhabiting Australia, especially in the southeastern region, towards the in the past Holocene. So maybe around the same time as the Thylacine or the Tasmanian tiger on the mainland. So maybe around um, 3,500 years ago. And they definitely make him out to be a very wide individual, but this is very stereotypical of echidnas. There are over four different species of echidnas today. In fact, let's look up one species, the western long-beaked echidna, which lives over in Papua New Guinea today, and I believe in the western part of the island. But compared to however large this individual is, the western long-beaked echidna is the largest species of echidna today and weighs somewhere around 12 pounds or a little over 5 kilograms. So, for a monotreme, which is a group of mammals that have been around for over 220 million years,
This is kind of freaky looking.
are a pretty successful group. They just simply never experienced the immense variety of different types of marsupials, which are their close relatives, as well as the different types of placental mammals. So, marsupials are animals such as koalas, kangaroos, and placentals are animals like moose and brown bears, us or people. So, the western long-beaked echidna does not score as long of keratin-like spikes, like different species of echidnas further south into different areas of Australia, as well as that distinct area of the Papua New Guinean islands. However, for some reason, it has a much longer snout compared to its body size, unlike other echidnas. It's
This is a
also differently
mess.
structured.
Someone needs a bath.
Yeah, um, I'm guessing he's finding a certain ant or termite mines or mound in the area. I mean, it doesn't seem to be, but maybe he's just checking the little abandoned construction site out. But these animals mostly focus on feeding on mostly different types of ants and termites. So they are toothless, completely relying on a certain type of saliva on their tongue to extract the insects that they feed on. They do have, however, very large forefeet compared to their body size. So their front feet, and it's used to help dig out somewhat burrows and even the different mounds that they obtain their insect forage from. So we can head back to the article. It is interesting because when it comes to the walking of echidnas, their hind feet are splayed out to the side. So it's one of those strange aspects of locomotion, kind of like with what we see in different species of ground sloth to an extent. Oh, possibly also calicotheres from further back in the Cenozoic era. So first described in detail in the 1990s, Megalibguiliae Oweni grew up to 1 meter, about 3.3 feet, and weighed in at 15 kilograms or pushing 32 pounds. That is a massive echidna. That's huge. The absence of this species in Victoria had stood in contrast to its known presence across the continent from Western Australia, whoa, into Tasmania and southern New South Wales. This animal covered the Australian continent. That's actually quite remarkable. I was assuming that this animal would be restricted mainly to Eastern Australia. It's even mentioning Tasmania, which is not too surprising considering Tasmania was likely connected to the mainland of Australia in different glacial events during the Ice Age. So it would have provided extra migratory corridors to the region, except it's unlikely that the echidna in general made annual migrations like different types of animals. However, it's likely when just seeking overall new habitat or new territory that it would have had access to Tasmania and likely come into contact with different prehistoric marsupial predators like the Thylaccoleo or the in quote marsupial lion, as well as the thylacine or the Tasmanian tiger at the time, and possibly even the giant lizard megalania. The newly described specimen helps resolve that discrepancy, suggesting the species range was more continuous than previously documented. The fossil is a fragmentary skull that was found not during fieldwork, but in Museums Victoria's paleontology collection. Dr. Tim Ziegler, collection manager of vertebrate paleontology at Museums Victoria Research Institute, first cited the specimen in 2021 and used historical archives to show it had been retrieved in a 1907 expedition to Foul Air Cave by museum officer and naturalist Frank Spry. Hmm, not familiar with this individual. Museum collections preserve the link between science heritage and people. Over a century ago, Spry, along with scientists and locals, investigated Buchan's caves with little more than ropes and kerosene lamps, and they inspired us to carry on their work. According to Dr. Ziegler and Deakin University student Jeremy Lockett, the find underscores the importance of revisiting historical collections, which can yield new insights even decades after specimens are first recovered. Further surveys of museum collections and fossil sites will be needed to better understand the diversity and distribution of ancient echidnas during the Quaternary period, which is basically referencing the Ice Age in general. It doesn't, however, tend to illustrate the whole Pleistocene epoch. It's odd when the Quaternary period, which is essentially the end of the well, not the end of the Cenozoic era, but that period in time between the Pliocene, the early Pleistocene epoch, and then into the Holocene. So it's supposedly the Quaternary starts somewhere around 1.8 million years ago. The Pleistocene itself starts somewhere between 2.2 and 2.7 million years ago. Previous research by Museums Victoria has shown the Buchan Caves preserve an exceptional record of Australia's unique megafauna, including the short-faced kangaroo Simosthenerus occidentalis and the giant marsupial Halorchestis azile. Let's also look up somebody else. The I think Euzarchma. Let's see. EUZY um, ROCHEMA. Anybody pop up? Does it look like a
It's like a bug.
No.
It's it's spelled with a ZYG.
Put right next to it, so a separate word, diprotodont. So Diprodont. Did somebody else pop up? Okay, here we go. So this is a species of marsupial and a close relative of the wombats of today. So all species of wombat that exist in Australia currently. Um, this specific animal, however, the largest wombat species today barely reach a little over 80 pounds or pushing 35 kilograms, whereas this individual could reach somewhere around, I believe, 300 pounds or a little over. 140 kilograms, and was mainly feeding on different species of grasses at the time. Probably didn't make burrows like today's different species of wombats. However, it is very possible that this animal, like modern day wombats, as you could see in the previous photo, um, would have had pouches, um, I guess, showing or facing towards the rear of the animal or right behind. So that way, when the animal was at least digging for roots and tubers, or there was some sort of a sandstorm in certain parts of Australia, even back in the Pleistocene, the young would not have been affected by the dust, at least as much.
Oh, somebody made one.
It's a unique characteristic to wombats today, unlike other marsupials. Oh yeah, one of these distinct could be an irisocoma, or it could simply be a diprotodon, which is the largest of the genre of different members of Diprotodontoideae lineage of marsupials. There are over 20 different species of diprotodons.
These guys are popular.
And this is prior to the wombats. Oh yeah, this is a very well-renowned lineage of large marsupials over in Ice Age Australia, and they are practically the largest species of marsupials. And yes, the thylacine did exist in, which is the animal on the right-hand side. Thylacine did exist in Ice Age Australia over 80,000 years ago. Many species of diprotodontids did go extinct somewhere between 50 to 60,000 years ago, as well as many other different groups of prehistoric marsupials. Only a handful made it to the recent or the current Holocene epoch, such as the Thylacine.
Is it somebody checking on the baby?
It seems to be that way. It's very likely that diprotodontids would have roamed at least in small herds across different parts of um, the grasslands of Australia. I think many people, when they think of Australia, the forests of the eastern range or the eastern regions of the country might come into mind, but usually it's just a wide expanse of desert, especially in different areas of Western Australia, the Northern Territory. Even currently, if the habitat is taken care of, it's quite a lush grassland. But definitely further back, you would have had massive expanses of grasslands feeding these 3-ton herbivores in some instances. So they were nearly the size of black rhinos today, or I guess around the size, sometimes larger. Let's see. Who else? Oh yeah, these are practically herbivores. Was another one, Macropus. Okay, so this is I think I'm mentioning, yeah, Macropus. Now, did it bring up regular kangaroos or
It says Macropus.
yeah, but did it bring up like eastern gray kangaroos, red kangaroos, like current species?
Um, yeah, I mean, it brought up what says is, well, if they don't exist anymore, then there's no way these pictures are real.
Um, okay, that is the genus species for different species of kangaroo today in Australia, which did exist back in the Pleistocene.
Are you
Um,
saying you want a prehistoric one?
well, um, yeah, but that's not the specific genus. There's a wide variety of different genre. I'm just trying to think of other genre besides Procoptodon. Um,
He looks happy.
I mean, he's very renowned. Yeah, these were among more of the smaller lineages of kangaroo. Well, not necessarily the smallest. I mean, you did have different types of wallabies back in the Pleistocene or Ice Age Australia. Different larger species of koalas as well.
Well, this is the one that was saved by Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. I think quite variety were. Um,
Oh, wait a minute. What? Okay, this is just funny. Hold on.
yeah, this boss kangaroo looks pretty relaxed. There's probably some red kangaroo. I can't tell if that's a tree behind him, but maybe he's in
This
some
Macropus rufus.
he could be in some area of like New South Wales, maybe a small forested area off the coast of like Western Australia. Red kangaroos are not really known for inhabiting the different eastern areas of Queensland, Victoria, and New South Wales, and definitely not Tasmania.
Okay. What am I looking
at least for the most part. It's more of eastern gray kangaroos. Um, well, it looks like a Procoptodon on his small Procoptodon on his shoulders or her shoulders. She has little joeys in her pouch.
at? Looks like a rabbit sitting on top.
Um, yeah, somewhat. It is a short face, one of the short faced kangaroos. And the more longer, slender snouted kangaroo, it could be a member of the Macropus genre. Maybe it's one of the extinct species. There's another large one in the background. And those smaller animals on the ground, I think those are the distinct species of marsupials that you will find in certain drier areas of Western Australia, the central part of the country in general. These specific names just not hitting me. They are not aardvarks. They are distinct marsupials. Aardvarks are placentals. They're just very distantly related to many other different types of mammals today.
Okay, did this mother adopt a dog?
That's just the. I think his ears are just tucked back.
It looks like a dog, though.
Yeah, yeah, you can see his ear on the side. Actually, I think what's happening is that the glare of the sun's hitting his ear, and that's his full ear on the side. It's just a much lighter color, so it's got that distinct glare. He seems pretty. I think he's healthy. The female seems healthy, or the mother, though. It does seem to be the dry season around them. Okay, let's
Oh, wait a
see.
minute.
Oh,
Here.
okay. So I'm wondering if this is not necessarily a prehistoric species, but this is just an 1800s representation of Macropus
That's what it says.
philanosis. Oh, okay. So some naturalist or zoologist drew this. I mean, these are good depictions. I'm guessing it's a female and her Joey.
It doesn't say that. It just says it says the name of the artist and the um the name of the species or the whatever it is. What's it called when it gives both names?
So Macropus being the genus and Fuligonosus being the distinct species of that genus. I don't think it's an eastern gray kangaroo.
No, it's what it says. It literally says it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's like the east. I don't think it's the eastern gray kangaroo. I don't believe it's a red kangaroo. So I wonder if it's an extinct species now, like at the moment, or just recent times. I don't know.
Hello. Hello. I can't help it. It's just too funny.
It is interesting how they always give the diprotodontids a very old sort of a look. I mean, different recent depictions make them look more of just like regular animals on the landscape that don't age too much. The next amazing discovery would could come from inside the museum from continued fieldwork or the keen eyes of citizen scientists. I can't wait to find out. Is there anything else? No. Okay, we're going to head over to the next discovery. This is really good to see that we found a large species of long-beaked echidna. So from sciencealert.com, this frozen cave lion is so well preserved you can still see its whiskers. Yeah, that is a very well preserved specimen of this distinct carnivore. So Eurasian cave lions, or just cave lions in general, roam throughout most of Europe. And if you're referring to um, periods in the ice age where the glaciers receded to a massive extent, you could have had it where they roamed throughout the whole continent. We just don't have any preserved remains, at least found at the moment, from certain areas. And then they roam throughout a lot of Russia, different parts of Central Asia, possibly into certain areas of East Asia, like Japan, Eastern China, maybe Northern Vietnam, and then over into Alaska and I believe certain areas of the Yukon or northwestern Canada. So the Eurasian cave lion was somewhere. Oh, well, I guess let's bring up some photos of this individual, considering it's just talking about a cup. Oh, just a cave lion, specifically Panthera speleus. Some people are familiar with Panthera atrox, but that is another species of Ice Age lion, and it is the American lion, which only inhabited different areas of the western and central United States, possibly reaching into areas of southern Canada, like southern British Columbia and southern Alberta, and maybe even into northwestern Mexico, but not really having much of a geographic range outside of that area. Whereas the Eurasian cave lion dominated most of the, um, well, yeah, a large portion of the northern hemisphere. The other lion species, which currently lives today, Panthera leo, did exist or at around the same time as the cave lion and the American lion, but really only inhabiting different parts of Africa, the Arabian Peninsula over in Western Asia, and reaching as far west as different parts of India. So, also being in different areas of Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So, it's possible at the very edge of the northern range of Panthera leo or the African lion, as well as the southern, I guess you could say, central um, range of the Eurasian cave lion. They might have come into contact and possibly interbred. Looking at the morphology of the cave lion, it doesn't look like this animal had the ability to grow neck fur. Well, a massive exterior neck fur like the type of that you would see with mane of an African lion, which is rather interesting. You would assume, considering it's living in a cooler climate, it might have had that type of characteristic. And instead, the individual that lives or the species that exists in a much warmer climate does instead, but the rest of its body is not covered in a very dense layer of fur. The same happens to be for the American lion as well. The American lion does not seem to have been able to create a mane around its neck, though it probably had a somewhat similar type of fur structure to African lions, considering the habitats that it lived in over in North America did not score very extreme temperatures, especially when it came to cold. Maybe further in the more northern areas of its range. Though here they still give it a kind of a puffy, kind of short mane, which is certainly possible. Maybe almost like that of um, a lynx or a bobcat. At least, well, I'm just thinking of the puffiness around its cheeks. Lynx don't really have they have like a thin, even sort of a coating as you see with the rest of its body, but not necessarily in the scruff like
They
in this
look puffy
instance.
because of the size of their heads, right? Lynx.
Um, well, lynx do have a very roundish sort of a fur structure on their head, but no, I think it's just simply due to their sort of just puffy fur morphology. Let's see. So yeah, cave lions in general would have hunted likely younger woolly mammoth calves. They might have hunted woolly rhino calves as well. Gone after ice age horses and camels. Yeah, he's just for some reason lynx decided to evolve this type of a characteristics, especially Canadian lynx. Now you could say bobcats or southern lynx over in North America as well. Eurasian lynx, Iberian lynx,
Do we know what this is for?
they all look good. It's, possibly to help with sound, um,
Fur?
yeah, that distinct area, but I'd have to go back and look at that. I think it's still a bit of a debate as to what exactly. Oh, yes, and the very puffy paws of the lynx might have been a somewhat characteristic or a definite characteristic in the different cave lion populations. Probably not so much in American lions because they inhabit a much more mild climate that would have received much less snow, except for the more mountainous areas of the different areas of the Sierra Nevada over in California, the Rocky Mountains over in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and even the Cascades, Washington State, and the mountainous areas of British Columbia and Alberta.
I just thought they were copying
Probably Alberta's in the Rockies too.
women's leg warmers in the 1980s.
Or they were copying it. Um, okay, so let's head over to the article. So, a nearly 28,000-year-old cave lion cub discovered frozen in the Siberian permafrost is so well preserved, you can still make out each and every one of her whiskers. Researchers in Sweden suggest the cub, nicknamed Sparta, wa- it was found in Siberia. Oh, I get it because I guess in paleontology we use a lot of Greek and Latin names because I was confused. I'm like, why didn't you name it something Germanic? But it's found in Siberia, so I wouldn't be surprised if like a Russian name popped up, but I don't know, it was a bit random. I guess it's supposed to help give it some vigor. Is among the best preserved Ice Age animals ever uncovered. Her teeth, skin, and soft tissue have all been mummified by the ice. Even her organs remain intact. Sparta is one of a number of cave lion cubs, Panthera spilea. So this is the species of the cave lion that have been found buried in the permafrost of Yakutia, which lies in the northeastern corner of Russia. She was discovered in 2018 by local resident Boris Berezenev, who was looking for ancient mammoth tusks amongst the tundra. Well, that's a very abrupt discovery when looking for mammoth tusks. I mean, mammoth tusks are great too, but this is indeed extremely rare. Let's see, what was I? Oh, yeah, Yakutia is very well renowned for finding different mummified ice age mammals in general. Woolly rhinos have been discovered here, well preserved. There was an incident with a Homotherium, a Eurasian and North American genus of saber tooth. Though it didn't have as long of saber tooth or canines as Smilodon. Actually, let's look up Homotherium. It also had more of like an almost hyena sort of a leg structure compared to other types of saber tooths. Homotherium. It is interesting. They gave it a somewhat same genus name as hominids or people. What's another one? Oh yeah. What else? I believe not dire wolves, but gray wolves that lived back in the Pleistocene. Yeah, that's the amazing thing about Homotherium is that these animals had very long legs compared to their body size, unlike Smilodon. So the saber-toothed cats over in North America and South America. Smilodon, well, this is Homotherium, but as you can see, the hind legs are nearly as long as the forelegs. And the shin bone is about as long, I think, as the thigh bone, if not I don't think it's slightly longer. So this is indicating that it was definitely at least built for somewhat speed. Now, rhinos, however, don't exactly have long shin bones, but they can run up to 35 miles per hour and sustain speeds of like 15 to 20 miles per hour for a longer distance. But focusing on this species of saber tooth, I don't think it shows it too well. But you can see that distinct canine. And yeah, Homotherium for some reason, like certain other saber tooths, I think they're also referred to. Yeah, they're also referred to as almost like the false saber tooth cats. They are saber tooths. They're just they don't necessarily have the same. They don't have anywhere near the same type of canine construction or structure as Smilodon, though the canines were a bit more robust and could deal with more pressure compared to animals like Smilodon and even certain marsupial saber-tooths like the Thylacosmilids or Barbarophilus, which lived much earlier in time over in North America and South America back in the Miocene, some instances the Pliocene epochs, somewhere between 5 to 11 million years ago. This is a good reconstruction of Homotherium hunting Ice Age horses back in different parts of Eurasia, especially Russia, probably different areas of Mongolia, China, Kazakhstan. Um, I'd say also the horses were a bit more heavily built at this point in time, at least when it came to overall stockiness. Would probably also help fight off these larger species of cats. Homotherium, depending on the species, could reach a size of somewhere around 300 to 350 pounds or a little over 150 kilograms. It's a bit of a debate as to whether or not Homotherium specifically would have roamed in prides, considering they're cats. Um, that's probably just a better term to use. But when it comes to Homotherium, it is also interesting that when looking at their distinct bottom jaw and also the front teeth, they're a little longer in some cases, it seems, than compared to Smilodon. Oh yeah. Smilodon also contains this sort of a trait, but definitely the upper canines are much more robust, and it seems to be a bit of a smaller sort of a back molar area, which is odd. And when looking at the overall skull morphology, it seems to just be wider in general compared to Smilodon. Smilodon, however, would be much better for, or it's just simply much more evolved and specialized in grappling and just wrestling its victims to the ground. So, in an overall like fighting situation between a large Homotherium and a large Smilodon, even if you're talking the medium-sized species Smilodon fatalis, which is somewhere around 5 to 600 pounds or a little over 250 kilograms, the Smilodon is probably going to win as long as it's careful with its canines and it doesn't put too much pressure on them, mainly in like a side to side motion. It would beat the Homotherium, but the Homotherium might be better just simply in agility and um, maybe even stamina. But I still think the Smilodon would be better off in that situation. I think this is a really good representation. Woolly mammoths, I think, were probably capable of running somewhere between 20 to 25 miles per hour, or a little over 30, 36 to 40 kilometers, kind of like today's Asian elephants.
Who would run better in the snow, though?
Um, well, it depends on how deep the snow is. If the mammoth is having to create its own pathway through the snow and it hasn't already been somewhat cleared, then the Homotherium could just follow the trail. I mean, wolves do this with bison today in different areas of Wyoming, Montana, Canada, or even certain parts of Alaska with the small populations of wood bison. And it probably was the same thing when it came to, well, gray wolves at this point. There were other Pleistocene wolves as well as Eurasian cougars, Eurasian, these are also Pleistocene predators, Pleistocene jaguars, and in this case, Homotherium. Animals like Smilodon didn't have to, for the most part, be concerned about this situation. But yeah, a mammoth calf would be a really good, or just simply an easy source of protein for these animals. And also, it supply them with quite a bit of fat as well. This is something that also tends to be left behind in discussions when it comes to Pleistocene carnivores, is that they had kind of a high fat diet due to the different types of Pleistocene herbivores that they were feeding on, which had very high contents of fat to help them get through the brutal Ice Age winters. Now, it probably would have differed the further south that the predators existed in different parts of North America, Eurasia. Um, Also, it might have been a somewhat similar case over in Antarctica because you had animals like leopard seals roaming the Antarctic waters and larger species of penguins back then, too. And so, probably having a larger supply of blubber. There were Arctic seals back then, too. Okay, let's take another look at what's going on here. Whoa. Gosh, that really is a cub. That's very well preserved. As wildlife hunting and trade have become more restricted, tusk hunters like Berentsev have begun to search for ancient ivory in the icy north. Well, we're talking about Russia. I'm pretty sure that mammoths no longer roam anywhere. Last ones went extinct over in Wrangel Island around somewhere between 3,500 to 4,000 years ago, recently in the Holocene epoch. So, this is what I would expect. Um, okay, in recent years, residents in Siberia have pulled woolly rhinos, wolves, brown bears, horses, reindeer, and bison out of the permafrost. Oh, yeah, there's something else. Not just bison. Earlier orcs or ancestors of modern day cows. Reindeer, yeah, they also have occurred. Bears recently, I believe there was. It's not Pleistocene or Ice Age, but um, there was a brown bear, probably about Bronze Age. So around it, it was recovered from a period of time that was probably right when the last woolly mammoths went extinct over in one of the islands off of Alaska, St. Paul's Island, about 3,500 years ago. And some of these carcasses date as far back as 40,000 years. I believe some are at least 50 to 60,000 years old. 40,000 seems a bit recent. Clearly, these ice steppes, it's referring to the large mammoth steppe that covered much of Europe, Asia, and North America that woolly mammoths thrived on, as well as woolly rhinos, horses, cave hyenas. Were once home to numerous large mammals. In fact, a year before finding Sparta, near the Semulak River, Berezhem found another cave lion carcass just 15 meters or 49 feet away. Oh, wow. Interesting. I guess I'm not surprised. If it's a whole carcass, I wonder if it was mother, or maybe if these animals were hunting in prides, maybe it was an ant. I'm guessing they had a somewhat lion type of um, just social structure. However, you have animals today like Panthera tigris, which is the tiger, and they're not very social. But you could still have it where maybe a female and her cubs were just buried or maybe frozen to death. This one named Boris showed slightly more damage, possibly from its permafrost cave collapsing, but it was still remarkably intact. Researchers in Sweden, who subsequently helped analyze the carcasses, suggest both Boris and Sparta are about 1 to 2 months old. Yet, despite their physical proximity and similar appearances, Boris is thought to be roughly 15,000 years older. Okay, that one's not related. Give or take a few centuries. It's always funny when we find these Ice Age carcasses over in Russia or the Yukon and even Alaska. And then they mention like the approximate dates, but then they say give or take a few centuries. There's a lot that could be happening when it comes to climatic change or just simply even ecosystem change to an extent during that time period, like within a few centuries. So it's not just going to be the same type of climate and temperature. I mean, when it comes to climate, what I mean by that is you can have it where there are just simply certain colder or warmer spells, not that it went from a wetland to all of a sudden desert. That doesn't usually happen that frequently. That takes a while. Today, the little we know about cave lions mostly comes from fossils, tracks, and ancient cave art. Oh, that's another thing. Actually, let's look up some when it comes to the cave art, which is pretty recent. So, I guess just put in um, cave paintings, maybe cave lion paintings. They're pretty recent. They're somewhere around 40 to 45,000 years old. So, around at the same time as some of the last Neanderthals, or pure Neanderthals too. But um, there we go. Now you might have had it where like the Homo sapien, Neanderthal, Denisovan hybrids were making these, but I don't specialize in that area. As you can see, even on these drawings, the lions do not have manes, and they're also being shown as being quite social. I think they're bison that they're hunting, which you did have different species of prehistoric bison roaming Asia. In fact, bison did come from Eurasia to North America very recently, at least with certain other species of bison that would make their migration to North America after you already had animals like the ancient woodland bison, like bison in latrophons and bison in antiquus, roaming different areas of Western and Central North America. Those might be ancient orcs, and I think there's some horses in the midst of it. There might be even a rhino in the middle. Oh yeah, there's two rhinos fighting. Yeah, these are really good drawings from back then. It definitely shows that it was quite a flourishing ecosystem over in different parts of Eurasia. I think this painting is also from either France or Germany from the late Ice Age. Oh yeah, these are really good reconstructions of woolly rhinos. It definitely shows they had extremely long horns. I mean, white rhinos can too, even today, but they had very distinct humps, or at least when it comes to their overall shoulder blades.
Wait, is this a bear?
Could be. That might be representing specifically a cave bear. So, which I believe is Ursus spilius. And Ursus spilius was around the size of a modern day Kodiak brown bear. So, pushing somewhere around 1,400 pounds or a little over 680 kilograms. Though it seems to be that this animal was omnivorous like Kodiaks. Probably didn't feed on as much fish. It also didn't really have access to at least the chum, sockeye, pink, um, coho salmon over in the Pacific. Maybe it had access to Atlantic salmon over in certain parts of Europe, but probably feeding on other species like cod. Um, but it's likely it was just feeding on um, maybe medium-sized mammals during the Ice Age, but having a very large portion of its appetite consisting of different types of fruits and even different types of grasses on the Mammoth Steppe, maybe even the different mountain ranges it inhabited. Considering we have found cave bears over in different regions of Austria, I believe Switzerland and Poland over in Europe.
I have one more.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good um view of it. Wow. Yeah, there's reindeer on the right. I think those are red deer too. Those could be. I wonder if they're elk, like as in elk from North America, because you also have it where there are elk over in different parts of Mongolia and China even today.
Look right here.
I'm guessing it's a group of bears. It's very possible, and they were just congregating in a certain area.
I think the spot made me think hyena.
Oh, could be. There were cave hyenas in Europe as well. It coexisted with the cave bears, the cave lions, the woolly rhinos, the reindeer, and horses on the side. These are probably not the Przewalski's horse. They could be, but there was a much larger species of horse that existed back in the Ice Age, larger than even the tall breeds today, like the Clydesdales. Very much more robust and not just more in height too. Yeah, it seems to be more of an auric. The rhinos,
These
there's something
horses?
on the side. Yeah, those seem to be horses.
What is
I
that?
think no, that's what I was wondering, what that could possibly be. They stuck I thought for a second that might have been a glyptodont, also towards or just up above it. But glyptodonts didn't exist over in Eurasia. They were mainly restricted to North and South America, so the giant armadillos of the Pleistocene. But, yeah, I don't know what that could be. I don't think it's a turtle. Okay, let's, head back to the article. So, mummified bodies found in permafrost are some of the best evidence we have of their existence. Their frozen carcasses look remarkably similar to modern lions in many ways, just on a much larger scale and with a much warmer coat. Um, Cave lions aren't really larger than the largest lions of today. In fact, you could say in some cases it might be slightly smaller, but it's very possible you could have had the largest cave lion individuals be as large as large lions of today, which can reach somewhere between it's rare, but 750 to 800 pounds or a little over 380 kilograms. But one of the most iconic features of African lions, their mane, seems to be missing on cave lions. In fact, early human artwork from the time suggests cave lions rarely sported manes, or if they did, they were extremely discreet. Some Ice Age paintings, for instance, show dark patterns of coloring on the cave lion's face, but it's unclear what that represents. Well, that is interesting considering there are those depictions of cave lions where they have like a slight, at least puffiness of fur around their neck. And when you look at the paintings, at least, uh, they seem almost clean in terms of exterior fur, like a broad amount of fur. In fact, early human artwork from the time suggests cave lions rarely sported manes. Or I already said that. Some Ice Age paintings, for instance, show dark patterns of coloring on the cave lion's face, but it's unclear what that represents. You have different lions today over in Africa that sport. s-
Sport.
Yeah, I was saying that correct. Sport black manes, so it certainly is possible. Maybe certain cave lions might have had black along their neck as well. You also have lions today that have white manes too. It could have been a certain similar instance with the cave lion as well. Maybe even American lions too. And then you have the tiger today, which is of the same genus, and it has black, white, and orange stripes. So it's a huge guess. Boris and Sparta are both juvenile cave lions, which means it's hard to say how their coats would have developed as they aged, apart from some dark coloring on the backs of their ears. Oh yeah, that is another thing that's very distinct in many species of cats is having distinct darker, a mixture of um, dark and lighter colored patterns on the back of their ears. You can see this in different species of lynx and as well tigers and certain lions, which is interesting. I guess a better cat would be like jaguars or even certain leopards. Oh, researchers say they are mostly covered in yellowish brown fur. Yeah, it probably makes sense. But I'm also referring to just specific smaller areas of the lion's body in general. If the cubs had a chance to grow up, experts think their fur would probably have turned more of a light gray to help them camouflage in the cold Siberian Arctic. I think that was something that we saw with the Homotherium. Yeah. Um, this is like with what you see in lynx over in like different parts of Europe and well, you could even say Russia and North America as well.
Is that possibly why they say it?
That is my guess, and considering lynx have a much closer sort of a actually, do we have a lynx up here? I thought we still had him.
I think I took him.
This is almost like a mixture of a lynx and a bobcat, sort of a,
You want him back?
depiction. I guess we could bring the lynx back. What I think what I was trying to say is that the physiology of the animal is very Homotherium-like. So it's almost as if the Homotherium is a bit of a giant lynx. There are differences in their skull morphology. So, yeah, I think this might be a Canadian lynx. Hmm.
This one definitely is.
Oh, yeah. He he's a good representation.
There's a Eurasian.
Yeah, it's time to remember they have those distinct spots. Um, Still a bit of puffiness, just not to the same extent as the ones over in Canada. Probably because in many instances, different parts of Canada will receive much more extreme weather
Mean him?
s- and snowfall. Yeah, that's Canadian lynx. So that's why they have this type of a fur physiology, and much more pronounced snowshoe feet.
Somebody's going for dinner.
Yeah, probably going after a snowshoe hare. Could be pursuing a deer fawn. So very likely, similar to Homotherium going after young horse foals. So they probably would fed on adults as well. Maybe even younger bison individuals
Hey,
and oryx.
why did the lynx cross the road?
Yeah, these individuals. I kind of wonder if this is in the same maybe national park in certain areas of Alberta, though this could be maybe someplace in Ontario, but it looks hilly. Like the road looks like it could be up on a bit of a hill. because
It
the
is.
trees aren't
Yeah, the
even.
trees are down.
Hmm. Yeah, it's probably not Manitoba or Saskatchewan because, I mean, they have small hills, but it's mostly flat. This could be some area of so is Ontario.
Wait, wait.
You get into certain parts of Quebec, and it can be a bit hilly, or Newfoundland and Labrador.
I know this is gonna be small.
Home Ethereum
Cheese.
is also related to the lynx, but it is very far off.
Say cheese.
Oh, yeah. This, I think it's just a Eurasian lynx and not an Iberian lynx, but, um, sometimes you just have to go over their spots to remember who's who. Yeah, he looks very, he looks very proud.
Yes.
Like, "Yeah, I'm very, proud of my earlier predecessors and their accomplishments."
And I'll roll over and you can take another picture.
Oh, yeah. Oh, also, it's very likely similar to lynx because lynx will roll around in the defecation or dung of their prey animals to help disguise their own scent in the area, or possibly or likely, to help place their scent in certain regions. So it's likely that Homotherium, Smilodon, different saber-toothed cats would have done the same. Even the American lion, hyenas do it as well. They, except they don't just do it with um, necessarily with different species of herbivores, but their own dung. I don't believe lynx do it with their own waste.
I've never even thought about doing that.
Yeah, that's good. Um, let's see. So, um, the presence of a mane is important because it could tell us about the social structures of cave lions. For example, whether they live by themselves or in groups with clear hierarchies. I'm not sure if a mane would help. The presence of a mane would help clear out whether or not they lived in pride structures or they were solitary like tigers. I
Yeah,
mean,
that seems a little strange.
tigers technically have a bit of a puffy sort of a fur structure. Like, let's look up an Amur tiger because they're the most northern subspecies. All of them have it. It's Amur and Tiger. They still have a bit of puffiness to their face, but they're more of a solitary sort of an animal. It's also interesting when it comes to different species of cats because some are um, they're more supportive of fighting each other than other species. Animals like lions, for instance, will put a lot more into fighting each other than something like or a cat like a tiger. Tigers really don't want to put a lot of effort into fighting. They prefer just quickly sort it out. It's almost like they're slapping each other really hard. Sometimes they can get into somewhat like not necessarily a claw entanglement, but they kind of just hold on to each other. Maybe they're biting a certain area of their neck that's not really going to put too much damage. Not that there haven't been certain fatalities amongst tiger fights, but they tend to be, I'd say, more um, uh, not necessarily relaxed, but just less fatal than lion fights. Jaguars, I think, can be somewhat similar. Cougars can get into somewhat fights. Oh yeah, female and her cub. If that's an Amur tiger, I kind of wonder if that's a Bengal tiger. There's something about the fur structure of that female doesn't seem very Amur like. Maybe it's just in a captive setting, and she just happens to be maybe somewhere in North America. Could
Oh,
be Russia or Europe.
this says Siberian,
Hmm.
which is the same as the last one.
Siberian tigers just tend to have more of like a puffy sort of a fur accumulation to them. There's
Uh,
just something about this that seems more of like a more southern subspecies.
yeah, but that one's
That
puffy.
looks like an Amur tiger. He definitely has that puffy sort of appearance.
It says Siberian.
Siberian Amur tiger. That is
Oh, it's the
the
same thing.
yeah, it's the same
Well, maybe
subspecies.
the other one is early in the winter, and
It
it
could
hasn't
be
puffed out yet.
it is possible, but there was just something off. This is very Amur like. It's almost like they also have a bit of like a scruffy sort of a fur appearance, almost like American grizzly bears. When you look at different subspecies of brown bears throughout the world, they do have different fur accumulations. Uh, yeah, okay, I have no idea, but oh, okay, this is over at the Minnesota Zoo. Well, these guys look okay. I'm guessing they were just born. One's still a bit out of it, but technically they both are. They're just absorbing everything around them.
This guy's fat.
That is also, yeah, that definitely looks like an Amur tiger. Guessing just caught on trail camera somewhere in the very extreme eastern forests of Russia. Also, northeastern China at this point, considering now there is video of them roaming back into their former range of northeastern China. So, yeah, even if you look at his foreleg, it's so puffy. I mean, it's like certain domestic cat breeds. Um, I
He's
mean, I
been
can't think of
eating well.
yeah, I can't think of any names, but this guy definitely looks healthy. He's probably feeding on wild boar, red deer in the area. Um, Occasionally they'll go after smaller brown bears and sika deer too. So let's see.
Don't the Bears put up a fight though?
Um, Smaller individuals. Well, okay. Well, the thing is that when it comes to the tiger itself, it does put overall more power into when it comes to just accumulating pressure onto its prey than a bear does. And it's probably hunting bears that weigh somewhere between 200 to 300 pounds or somewhere between like 120 and or um, like 90 and 140 kilograms. So smaller than it. Siberian tigers can weigh over 700 pounds or a little over 300 and what 20 kilograms. So another thing is just massively outsizing its opponent. Also, tigers are not closely related to the saber-toothed cats, though they all are members of Felidae. At the moment, scientists are still debating whether cave lions during the Ice Age roamed the steppes of Siberia on their own or in a pride like modern African lion structure. Yeah, it's a huge debate. There's one particular painting in France's Chavet Cave. Okay, so it's in France from the Ice Age that depicts nearly a dozen cave lions, both male and female, in the act of hunting bison. I was wondering if those were specifically bison they were depicted hunting, or if they were going after the orcs. Maybe it was a mixed herd of bison and orcs. Hunting in groups can be more effective than solitary hunting when the prey is large, and cave lions would have had many such prey species available in their ecosystem. For example, mammoths and rhinoceros, when there were no other options available to them. That's a big risk going after mammoths and rhinos, especially at that point, considering in many instances today with elephants. I'm going to use African elephants because Asian elephants, the females, they can score tusks, but they are not very long. African forest elephants and bush elephants will score much longer tusks. However, you can still have different populations of elephants in Africa. The females don't score very large tusks, even the males in some instances. But, the mammoths, in many instances, scored much longer tusks, and, um, rhinos would have been probably a bit more challenging even than today's in some instances because they had such, large and robust neck structures, and everything about the rhinos was just it was like attacking a large reinforced box, and the same thing, I guess, maybe a tank would
Wait, are
be a
you talking
better
about prehistoric rhinos?
yeah, different woolly rhinos on the mammoth steppe like Elasmotherium, Silodonte. Now, Elasmotherium, let's look up him. This rhino originally it was reconstructed to have very large horns. So Elasmotherium. And the problem is there wasn't really any evidence for Elasmotherium having a large horn. There are certain reconstructions. Yeah, this is the original sort of a look, but it looks like because there haven't been any specimens of Elasmotherium found with almost a horn at all. So if it did have a horn, it would have been um, probably quite short but wide, or it would have been somewhat empty or devoid of a horn,
and no horn.
like like a certain species of dinosaur, ceratopsian. So remember the horned dinosaurs that consist of triceratops, called Pachyrhinosaurus. So possibly just having a bit of a dome on the top of its skull, which is very unlike, or I guess unmodern rhino like.
What's with that thing?
That's from older reconstructions where Elasmotherium was depicted as having a very long horn, kind of like over in the show Prehistoric Park with Nigel Marvin. Now, however, there were the two horned rhinos, such as Coelodonte, which there is evidence. We have found preserved carcasses of the Coelodonte antiquus with large two sets of horns, or well, two horns. But Elasmotherium, oh yeah, it's adjacent to Saiga antelope. There is evidence for Saiga antelope on the side existing during the Ice Age. They exist today over in Kazakhstan, southern Russia, Mongolia, and China. And is very likely just with either a short horn or a flat dome that Elasmotherium did coexist with them. Now, did Elasmotherium coexist with the mammoths and also the steppe mammoths as well? I've only been mentioning woolly mammoths. Did they exist in small herds? Were they quite solitary? That is also quite debatable. It is very possible they might have roamed in small herds. Also, maybe at least during the breeding season, they would have congregated together. That is interesting. What I like about this depiction is it's showing like a treeless, mountainous area and even a plain, which is virtually the mammoth steppe. Though there would probably just be more large mammals in general. This is one of those instances where it makes it out where it's quite devoid, but all the animals look good. Except this woolly rhino seems quite devoid of fur. Unless it's supposed to be the summer, because many people tend to, when they think of the Ice Age, they think of just nothing but winter for 2 million years. And that wasn't the case. There were seasons. Either else, there wouldn't have been any plants on landscape. And without that, there wouldn't be any mammals either. So there was photosynthesis occurring. In addition, large prides would have helped to protect their kill from the competition and also to protect the cubs and young from predators. For now, this is all just guesswork. Even though we have found some astonishingly intact cave lions in recent years, we still don't have enough information about these extinct predators to reach any conclusions about their social structures. Now, I think what they mean by intact cave lions are specifically skeletons, not full preserved specimens. We have found like this. I think there was another cave lion cub, unless I'm mixing up with that Homotherium specimen. Um, oh wait, I think they okay. There was that other cave lion. I think a few years beforehand, like before this discovery. So let's see. Um, Perhaps one day that could change. Maybe we will unearth another cave lion with some hint about their long lost lives, or maybe one day we will successfully bring cave lions back to life. There is a very realistic chance to recreate cave lions, and it would be a lot easier than to clone a woolly mammoth.
Why
Paleontologists,
would we wanna do this?
well, it's that people have a hard enough time wanting to or accepting, bringing back Amur tigers to their historic range, lions to their historic range over in Asia, because practically, if you go back a few hundred years, confidently like 2,000 years, tigers dominated much of Central Asia, all of, well, not including Japan, Taiwan, all of East Asia. And you had where lions were over in pretty much all of Africa, including different parts of the exterior areas of the Sahara Desert. So, like over northern areas of Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, and then, yeah, making it all the way to India. So, coexisting with tigers too. You had cheetahs, And then over in, what is it? Oh, actually, you had it where lions recently, like around 2,000 years ago, and you had lions in southern Europe, like Italy, Greece, possibly. I don't think the Iberian Peninsula, so like Spain, Portugal, but that area had lions too. So, and people, it doesn't seem want to bring back lions to those areas. So the likeliness of people accepting bringing back cave lions is probably very unlikely. And the same thing goes for the woolly mammoth. People have a hard enough time wanting to or accepting certain species of deer coming back to different areas, or even establishing certain um, populations of, I think, was it bison? No, not bison. Trying to think of another large herbivore. I guess elephants in certain areas, if you're referring to different parts of Central and Southeast Asia.
Well,
So,
they horribly mistreat them, don't they?
um, well, that too. What's another thing? I guess when it comes to bringing prehistoric or ice age animals back, I'm just trying to think. Was there another one besides woolly rhinos? That's another one. Um,
The fake dire wolf.
oh yeah, that I know Scion, but that would be only over in North America, and people already have enough time in the United States bringing or accepting different packs of gray wolves moving back to their historic range, which was practically the whole United States. Now you could say, no, yeah, that would include Florida with the red wolf. So yeah, that is interesting when that pops up. Is there anything else? Just mentioning, okay. And the problem is that all these animals, if they were able to bring one partially back, they would be hybrids and they wouldn't be that distinct woolly mammoth or a cave lion. So it would be just a partially woolly mammoth and Asian elephant landscape. I also think it's a bit deranged in general, or very. So, oh, wait, is there anything? Just wondering if there was specific. Hmm. Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. We are streaming both on Kick, Rumble, and YouTube. Happy International Ice Age Month. And remember that nothing is better than all animals all the time.